The DC anime universe is an interesting showcase for DC characters. Some of them good, some of them questionable. There's one character in particular that I think has a really strong showcase overall. The kind that makes me think it would be cool to chill with them. That being Dr. Fate. Now, Dr. Fate's appearances range from Superman the Animated Series, to Justice League Animated, to Justice League Unlimited. There is some variation, but plenty of consistent aspects see consistent through line. And I figured I'd highlight some of the aspects to show how cool he is. So for a start, how to portray his power level. This is really complicated to tackle, and granted, the show generally struggled with making powerful characters powerful. Just look at how Superman or Martian Manhunter get nerfed. Something that helps is Dr. Fate is not a regular character. He's recurring at best, with most of his appearances being during Justice League Unlimited, and even then, it's not as frequent as other characters. It's interesting going back to Superman the Animated Series, compared to Aquaman, Green Lantern, and The Flash. He's not as conventionally a Justice League member as those other ones, just showcasing how unique the Magic Corner is. Though Aquaman also ended up not being a Justice League regular, and they went with a different Green Lantern. An aspect with Magic is it deals with unknown, as all the threats he intervenes with are really niche forces that wouldn't come across in a case of a week. In Superman the Animated Series, episode Hand of Fate, it's mentioned that Kent Nelson defeated Kal-El a century ago, indicating he's even older than that, which is crazy because this dude isn't even graying. And the Cthulhu-like force is only once every few thousand years. A lot of him solving a problem is having an artifact or incantation ready. And when it comes to actual action, he does handle his own. It's interesting while certain characters are underpowered, Hawkgirl's mace is significantly overpowered. Literally any dilemma in Terror Beyond, it comes in handy. It even neutralizes Fate like a chump. While Fate's action may not provide the most visual flair, he generally makes up for it by being the smartest person in the room, at least when it comes to magical aid force. Whenever there is some gray in magical aid force, while he may not show the most posturing, he does at least have a sense of what's going on, and I get a good feeling that it's good to stick by him if there's a threat. In the wake of Amazo, who's basically the most OP character in the series, Fate is the one who analyzed the situation and didn't use violence, rather appeal to his understanding, which they both praise. Another strength with this Dr. Fate is a relationship with Isna. Now this is probably the most noteworthy aspect to this Dr. Fate, especially in relation to other characters in this whole DCAU, that being he has a stable love interest. This is pretty noteworthy, since romance is rarely touched on and is often messy within the DCAU. Superman hardly covers ground with Lois, Jon Stewart and Shair's back and forth, everything with Batman, yet somehow Kent Nelson has a pretty stable romance with Isna who does nothing but reinforce Dr. Fate in all of his ventures. Like, there really isn't any other dynamic like this. I mean, Joker and Harley are always together, but they are a total mess. It helps that they aren't main characters and mostly in the background. However, as characters who deal with a greater unknown, their bond feels all the stronger. And with how they support each other, they only seem to make each other stronger. And with a strong bond comes a greater compassion for the greater universe. Ironically, with his first appearance in Superman the Animated Series, Dr. Fate is shown to be apathetic to the nature of good and evil, an interesting contrast to Brainiac, one of Superman's most formidable foes in the series, who also acted neutral to this dynamic with mechanical precision. Yet in the end, Dr. Fate ended up getting snapped out of his funk through seeing Superman head into a magic-related threat which he seemingly had no chance of surviving. Since then, with his subsequent appearances, he's shown to be more empathetic force, leading to Justice League Unlimited, where Fate and Isna offered shelter for Shaira after being cut off from her various communities, and Amazo, after he seemed lost for his search for purpose. It's a cool sort of space, like if no one else supports you or you are lost looking for meaning, the Tower of Fate has you covered. Plenty to contemplate and a lot to read. Interestingly enough, no other versions of Fate, at least in media appearances I've seen, quite captured the wholesome nature of his character. Isna is not nearly a focus in other versions, even though she is a big factor in making this Kent Nelson awesome. We have versions like in the Young Justice show, which may have more visual flair in its earlier seasons, yet makes Nabu this controlling force which ruins lives rather than being cohabiting like in the DCAU. Overall, I like this version of Fate. Stands out within a sea of characters portrayed in DCAU. Made me like this character more, which is a good sign. To the possibilities of a cosmos. Anyway, cheers.